y'all, Stacy here, coming in under the wire with this Wildflowers and Wild Horses warm review. I really wanted to share this before this collection was gone, and I think it's leaving on August 31st, but there is one in here that I am so surprised by. I can't wait to talk about it. As a quick reminder, I do use mostly 25 watt and up Scentsy warmers, as I am an independent Scentsy consultant, and my warmers are typically on for about 15 hours a day. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so we can stay in touch. How is everybody doing with this transition? We are in those last lingering days of summer, getting ready for fall, and honestly, I almost missed this collection. This is like an end of summer collection that Scentsy put out. You can see here it's got 5 bars in the collection, pretty standard. Comes in this cute little felt bag, which I really like. It is branded on the front with Scentsy, but that's okay. It's a reusable bag and it seems pretty sturdy, so I am excited about that. But honestly, everything was so hectic the last little bit. I really struggled to start melting through these. And once I did, I was shook. I was shook about some of these scents. They really surprised me. And I think these are leaving August 31st, so I want to be sure to share my warm reviews on them with you. Now, Wild Mountain Sky, this is one of the ones that was the most dynamically, well, maybe not the, yeah, I think maybe it is the most dynamically changing from cold to warm to me. Now, it lists with scent notes of like mountain pine, cypress, I think eucalyptus, and fern sprig. When I smelled this on cold, it really just gave me the vibe of like a very masculine, dominant bar of soap. And so I was confident that I was likely to not leave this fragrance in for its full length of time because I really didn't have anyone who was super interested in me testing it. So this was just for my personal preference. I decided, because of the strength of the smell and kind of the eye-watering nature of the smell on cold to me, to do 6 cubes in my open concept. And man, I was so surprised. It really leveled out to a far more atmospheric scent in my open concept. I got a beautiful 2 days out of it, and it was not at all in your face. I would still say it's cologne leaning, it's atmospheric. You definitely get those pine notes and eucalyptus notes. So you have to be comfortable with those types of fragrances, but it is far more subdued on warm than it appeared to me on cold. I also then did 2 cubes in my office, and those 2 cubes went for another 2 days, a nice medium throw, and I would say medium strength. So it is not in your face, and that's good to me. Now, Whiskey River, this one presented more true to form to me on cold to warm. However, I will say, even though I feel like all of this collection leans a little perfumey and cologne-y, like it definitely lives in that kind of hotel line sort of perfume cologne space, but these are atmospheric scents. And for me, Whiskey River is just gorgeous. I am a person who likes a kind of inventor wax, sort of Salem style bars. Any sort of like a soaked wood type vendor wax is going to intrigue me. And this bar actually hits some of those notes for me, particularly in the bourbon barrel. Now, it lists with, I think, an aquatic note that may list as river or sea air. I think it's river, and then golden plum and bourbon barrel. And that sort of soaked wood note is just so gorgeous in cologne or perfume leaning scents. Now, I don't mean that this was not cloying at all to me. It was atmospheric. Amazingly enough to me, I thought this was going to be very, very light in presentation, but no, it was a nice medium throw, medium intensity. I was able to do 6 cubes in my open concept, 2 cubes in my bedroom, 2 days of performance. Now, Wildflowers and Sage, this was the one that on cold I was probably the most excited about. On cold, I really picked up that sage, and it's a sage that I really like. It lists with wildflowers, mint, moss, and sage. And what I will say about this is it is the lighter intensity of the bars to me. I did need the entire bar in my open concept, which is not a deal breaker for me. And I got a beautiful full day out of it. So it was one day in my open concept, light intensity, and a medium throw, I would say. So good performing bar, but it's a single day in my open concept. It might have given me more enclosed concept, but I never really did pick up any sort of wildflower or mint notes. Primarily, it seems like just a nuanced but somewhat straightforward sage perfume fragrance. It was beautiful and I do like it, and I definitely think I'm going to pick up more of it. Maybe, but I don't know because it's leaving, I think, on August 31st, so that doesn't leave a whole bunch of time. And I do really love snowflakes and sage. I do think this is different though. It is a very different type of sage scent, and I do like it. So I don't know. Now, this is Saddle Up, and this is the bar that I was the least excited about by the notes and on my first cold sniff. I am wary of anything that is leather, which is kind of odd because in the right blend, leather scents can be some of my favorites. I love book loft scents. I love library scents. I love bound book scents. There are a lot of vendor wax and candle scents that contain leather notes. They just need to be blended in a way that is palatable for me. The leather notes really do need to be balanced with other notes, and they really cannot include any sort of dampness or moisture. If I pick up those sorts of notes, it can be very off putting. Hold that thought when I tell you about my melting of this. Now, the first 2 days that I melted this, I did in my closed concept living, and I was so pleasantly surprised. It's a nice medium throw to a medium light intensity, and the aged leather is perfectly balanced with the musk and the fresh air in a way that did not seem evocative at all of any moisture. So the same was true for me when I melted it again in my office, and I really loved this, and I enjoyed partner melting it with some of my favorite candles. Then I melted this in my bathroom, and that was a no-go. And I think it's just honestly the moisture that naturally exists in the space. I had to take it out. There is something to me about kind of damp and wet scents and places and kind of these leather scents that just was a no-go, but in 2 out of the 3 spaces, I really enjoyed it. And then we come to Silver Spur. Now, this lists with notes of campfire, lavender, and spruce. And what I will tell you is, I was a little bit bitter, a lot bitter about the fact that Around the Campfire is gone. And I love blending with Around the Campfire. So when I saw this having campfire notes, I was thinking, is this going to be kind of my fireplace melter? And on Cold Sniff, I thought maybe it would be. However, the first place that I melted this was 2 cubes in my office, and what I will say is it was a nice, again, medium throw. I feel like even with the campfire, if you are comfortable with campfire, medium intensity. I think if you're sensitive to campfire, you may think it's a higher intensity, but for me, it was a nice medium intensity, medium throw, campfire scent, but the lavender and spruce notes were definitely present. And there also seemed to be, again, something that was giving it sort of a kind of subdued, atmospheric, cologne leaning fragrance. That's very different than Around the Campfire, which is far more just purely atmospheric. So I was a little bit blue about that in the first 3 or 4 hours because I thought, how am I going to blend with this? It maybe isn't going to be a one-to-one, which is kind of what I was hoping for. And then I kept melting it. Now, when I came back in after about 4 hours into my office to start working again, it was a much sweeter fragrance. The lavender really took center stage, and I'm not sure what the other note was. I feel like there is some sort of a fruit note inside of this, or there's just some sort of a sweetness that isn't accounted for in the notes that really makes this a beautiful fragrance. And this went for 2 more days with that kind of gorgeous blend. So for me, this is a blend that I love, and I don't think that I would be mixing with it, but I do really enjoy that second and third day in particular, and the back half of the first day. So if I'm ranking them, Silver Spurs is definitely going to get my number 1 spot. And because of how much I appreciate that kind of soaked wood fragrance, I'm going to give Whiskey River my number 2 spot. I do think it's open concept worthy and I enjoy it in my office space, so very excited about that one. I'm going to surprise myself and give Wild Mountain Sky my number 3 spot just because it is such a lovely and so much more mellow than I anticipated open concept melt, and it's also still a great performer. Now, these last two both have kind of hiccups, and I don't know if I think ultimately I am going to give Wildflower and Sage my fourth place spot, and the reason really is that it's a single day open concept melt, and I don't pick up some of the notes like the mint and Saddle Up just because I don't feel like I can melt it absolutely everywhere. I am going to give it my fifth place spot, but there's not a single dud in the bunch, and I don't not want any of these again. So that is a huge surprise to me. And I do feel like this whole collection almost passed me by. It just snuck up on me. There's a lot going on in just my world, but also we had Bring Back My Bar, and there were so many fragrances coming right at the end of summer. I'm really glad that I didn't miss this. I don't tend to absolutely adore cologne and perfume leaning scents, and I feel like this whole collection does lean that way. But it does it in an elegant, elevated, atmospheric way. And I don't think that there is one that I would not want to have out of all of these. Now, Silver Spurs has already been added to my club, which I am trying to cut down. And I think there is a very strong chance that I will be adding Whiskey River and maybe Wild Mountain Sky to my club as well. That just really surprises me. And the other thing is, I do like the other two. So I feel like I'm probably going to stock up on them. Like I may get one more of these, or I may just add them all to my next month's club shipment. And then probably I would drop Saddle Up and Wildflower and Sage. But I'm going to have a hard time letting go of those top three. I would love to hear in the comments below, have you tried this collection? And if you did, what did you think about it? And what were your favorites or not so favorites? Thanks for watching.